Hi, good morning. Thank you for joining us. We are going to wait about 2 minutes for anyone who's still joining or connecting to the audio. In the meanwhile, we're going to walk you through some features in your control panel on GoToWebinar. So let me show you what that looks like. If you're on your desktop, you're going to find this on the top right of your screen, and you're going to find the unmute button, the raise your hand button, the question chat box, and you will also be able to find some handouts for today. And if you're on your mobile app, you will find this at the very bottom of the app. We are going to show you in the next couple of slides what this looks like. So here you will find the question chat box. And once you click on this question feature, you will see the chat box pop up for you. And here we invite you to ask any questions that you have as we're going through the webinar, whether they are technical questions or questions about the content of this webinar, we will be able to receive them here. And you can see that any questions you send to us will appear with the letter Q. And once they're answered, you will see the answer right underneath with the letter A, and your question will change from color gray to color green. If you wish to ask us any questions verbally or share any comments with us, you are not going to be able to just unmute yourself. We have to do a two-step process to support you in this asking questions verbally. So the way that you can let us know that you want to ask a question is by using the raise your hand feature. Once you raise your hand, this will let us know that you want to share something with us verbally, and we will give you permission to unmute and let you know that this is a good time for you to share something with us. So as you can see here, your hand is going to look with the little red arrow if you're on your desktop, and if you're on your mobile app, you're going to see a gray. And once your hand is raised, these colors are going to change to green and blue. So once the colors change, this is your indicator that we know that your hand is raised, and we will get to you very briefly. If for any reason you raised your hand by mistake or your question had been answered before you were able to ask it from us, you can just click the same button again and your hand will be lowered. And if you have any, if you are not able to access the handout that is a PowerPoint, you can send an email to Rebecca, and she will be able to send you a PDF. And Rita, is it okay if I ask from you to drop her email in the chat so people can see it?
Yes, will do.
Thank you so much. Okay, so it's been a few minutes and we're ready to get started. Thank you so much for being here today. Welcome again, and thank you for working together to support young dual language learners. My name is Stephanie Delaney, and I'm the Family, Friend, and Neighbor Project Coordinator at the California Child Care Resource and Referral Network, also known as the Network. We are a nonprofit membership organization of 58 local child care resource and referral agencies, and along with our member agencies and partners, we raise a public voice for unmet child care needs at the local and state levels. We advocate for services that best meet the needs of children and families, and educate policymakers and community leaders. Research and referral agencies are state-funded community-based programs in every county in California, and out of the multiple services that they provide to their communities, a big part of what they do is support home-based childcare providers. So RNRs are really our bridge to reach home-based providers. In our position at the network as a statewide nonprofit that partners with and supports research and referral agencies, made us an ideal partner in the Language Learning Project to host a statewide Training of Trainers webinar and reach local research and referral agencies to support the implementation of personalized oral language learning strategies in home-based programs and communities. So we collaborated with the Language Learning Project to adopt the research-based personalized oral language learning strategies, or POST strategies, to better support home-based providers in meeting the needs of their dual language learners. This webinar is designed to introduce these adapted strategies to trainers, coaches, and administrators in support of their work with home-based providers. We would like to acknowledge the partner of this project, the California Department of Social Services, the California Child Care Research and Referral Network, the Central Valley Children's Services Network, the Fresno Unified School District, and the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. And before we get started, we would also like to address who is in the audience today. We shared this training very broadly and received, as of last night, 228 registrants, which showed us a need and interest for tools for dual language learners in home-based settings. In our audience today, we have participants from research and referral agencies, other organizations offering training and coaching to home-based and center-based providers, organizations that focus on advocacy, the statewide agencies, federal entities, public libraries, as well as home-based providers. So thank you all for being here today. We are very excited to share with you what we have been working on. And today we are going to be talking about addressing a need. So we're going to cover where are young dual language learners served, and how can the personalized oral language learning strategies support children in a broader range of childcare settings. And given that we have participants from different backgrounds on this call today, we will very briefly review who are we talking about when we say the term home-based childcare providers. So when we say this term, we talk about family childcare homes, family, friend, and neighbors, and licensed exempt providers. Licensed family childcare homes are licensed and regulated by the Department of Social Services Community Care Licensing Division, and there are small licenses and large licenses, and while these providers are licensed to take care of all ages, their ratios are restricted by the age of the children that they have under their care. We also have family, friend, and neighbors, and licensed exempt caregivers, and while these terms are often used interchangeably, there are differences between the two. The similarities are that in the state of California, they do not need to have a license to provide childcare. They care for the children of only one family other than their own, and they're often relatives of the children in their care. However, while license exempt caregivers receive a state or federal subsidy and are required to register with TrustLine and complete a health and safety self-verification when they're not a close relative to the children in their care, family, friend, and neighbors, or FFNs, are unregistered and they're often unpaid. And something in common amongst all home-based childcare providers is that they're predominantly women of color representing the race, ethnic, and linguistic diversity of California, and they often share a cultural and linguistic background with the families and children that they care for. And some of the languages that we often hear about here at the network from research and referral agencies are Arabic, Chinese, Farsi, Korean, Russian, Spanish, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. So home-based childcare is the most common form of non-parental childcare. And when families from all backgrounds are using it, it is more prevalent amongst families with infants and toddlers, low-income families working non-traditional hours, families from immigrant backgrounds, families living in rural communities, families of color, and families with children who have disabilities or special needs. And here we have some statistics from childtrends.org stating that 97% of childcare settings in the US are home-based and not center-based. Home-based childcare providers are offering multiple benefits for families, some of which include families having someone that they know and trust to take care of their children, having small group sizes and home-like environments, offering flexible schedules, which is very important for families working non-traditional hours, including overnights, early mornings, and weekends, and sharing a language and culture with the families and children that they care for. And here we have more statistics designed from the Hispanic Research Center.org, stating that the majority of dual language learners are being served by family, friend, and neighbors and family childcare homes nationwide. And now that we have covered where dual language learners are being served, we are very happy to introduce you to Jessica Gutierrez. She's the program manager of the Language Learning Project. We at the network have worked closely with Jessica in modifying the poll strategies for using home-based settings, and she will now introduce you to these new resources that we have created. So Jessica?
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you everyone for being here. Good morning. I'm really fortunate to be here and really excited to be here with you all and share the work that we have been doing. So Stephanie, if you'll, there we go. Perfect. And there we go. All right. So we have been working on this for quite some time. With the Language Project, we started way back in 2016, and really we've learned so much since then. So we have been working with the network and really working with also our local research and referral agency, Central Valley Children's Services Network, to modify the strategies for home-based care, right? So I'm fortunate in that I started as a provider way back when the project started, and I now get to be here with you all as a manager of the project. So I've seen the strategies work and being able to share them now with so many people across the nation really is just a really great fortune for me. And so through this partnership, we've been able to really modify how we think about training. We've done a lot of learning, and I know that our team here can share as well with the project that we have learned so much about home-based care and caregivers and how we needed to really modify and adapt the things that we were doing to fit into the need and the space that they already created and already had, right? So we came in with our project started with training for the poll strategies. It's very structured in this like 5 sessions, 3 hours long, but that doesn't necessarily work for everyone. And so a big part of our work here has been redesigning and modifying what we put out with you all and what resources we provide, so that you're able to support the home-based providers, right? Our family childcare providers, our family friend and neighbors, our family friend and neighbor playgroup facilitators, all those people that Stephanie just talked about. And a very key part of that has been redesigning our website as a training platform for you all to use all of the resources and tools and really be accessible for you. So a key part of what we share today will be navigating that and helping you become familiar with what's available and what's there for you to access. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, we're going to talk about POLL, which is my favorite topic. So personalized oral language learning, POLL, P-O-L-L. It really is a set of research-based concrete strategies that support language learning in all environments, and specifically for dual language learners. It really focuses on developing children's vocabulary, oral language, and comprehension skills through strategic, intentional planning for language experiences. And really, the basis of POLL is helping caregivers understand the importance of bilingualism and how POLL can be implemented by both multilingual and monolingual adults. And so we have lots of things to share with you, and we're really excited to get to do that today. So I will introduce here on the screen our POLL creators, right? So way back when POLL was originally developed, these were the 4 incredible individuals who created and developed the POLL strategies. Dr. Linda Espinosa, Dr. Carola Oliva Olsen, Elizabeth Magruder, and Whit Hayslip. And I've had the great fortune of working with them all very closely as we continue to modify and adapt the strategies for the field. And so I'm going to introduce Whit Hayslip now, who's going to come on and share with us.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today and to talk about POLL. I was fortunate to be here, to be part of the beginning of POLL and learn from the other wonderful creators. And one of the things I wanted to share with you to begin with is, I know you're not going to believe this because I look so young, but that this year I have been in the field of early care for 55 years. And so 55 years of working with mostly, I'm going to be honest, 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. I spent a couple of years with infants, but mostly 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. So one of the things I want to share with you is that as I go through the years, and frequently I will run into a family, a child that I was part with, that I worked with many, many years ago. Frequently, I will ask them, okay, what do you remember about me? What do you remember about my time with you? What do you remember about the care I gave? And I must say, more than not, they will quickly say, I remember that you sang to us. And so that one of the things we realize is the importance of songs and the value of singing and chants in language development. And you're going to learn today how language development is really built in Pole through songs and chants. It is a crucial part of Pole. We always like to call it the heart of Pole. So one of the things I like to do, since I'm not with young children every day, is I'm going to make you sing with me. So we're going to sing a song that we've used a lot with Pole to get us warmed up and going today. And it's one that Jessica and I have shared together, and it's called I Am the Conductor. So Jessica, you want to put that song up there so that they can see that? And we're going to sing it together. Okay, and here it goes. I'm going to sing, and pardon my singing, you guys, and you can join along with me. What I do is I sing a line, and then you sing a line after me. Here we go. I am the conductor, I come from early care. I am the conductor, I come from early care. I can play on my piano, on my piano. Blink, 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 blink. And then when I sing this song, I always ask the children for other instruments. So one of the instruments that I particularly like that comes up is that violin, and it has a screechy sound. So here we go. I am the conductor, I come from early care. I am the conductor, I come from early care. I can play on my violin, on my violin. Plink, 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 plink. Plink, 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 plink. One of the things you're going to learn today, and you can already see it in this song, the importance of repetitive language for dual language learners. So it's a hard, again, there's songs and chants, but a lot of repetitive language. So real quick, anything in the chat or question? Somebody just tell me another instrument out there. One more instrument that I can sing about today. Anybody willing to? Jessica, you see any instruments that are offered there? Let's see, somebody give me an instrument.
Yes, we have a few. We have drums.
Drums, one of my favorites. Give me one more.
Flute.
Flute, okay, we'll do two of those, okay. I am the conductor, I come from early care. I am the conductor, I come from early care. I can play on my drums, on my drum. Boom, 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 boom. Blink, 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 blink. Blink, 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 blink. One more. I am the conductor, I come from early care. I am the conductor, I come from early care. I can play on my flute, on my flute. Do 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 do. Boom 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 boom. Blink 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 blink. Blink, 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 blink. Okay, one of the things about Pole we're going to learn, we're not only looking at language development in English, but we are supporting home language. And for many of our home children, that language is Spanish. So Jessica, take it away with this song.
Gracias, Whit. Y como dijo el señor Whit, no nomás estamos enfocando en inglés, pero también en el lenguaje o el idioma materna. Entonces, en esta ocasión es español para mí. Entonces, vamos a empezar con español. Yo soy la conductora de cuidado de niños. Yo soy la conductora de cuidado de niños. Yo puedo tocar con mi piano, con mi piano. Clink, 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 clink. Y a veces, muchas veces, cuando hacemos esta canción con los niños, alguien, si estamos hablando en español, alguien sugiere maracas. Es nuestra favorita. Entonces, vamos a practicar con las maracas. Y siempre cuando estamos con los niños, les preguntamos, ¿cómo suena? ¿Cómo suena el instrumento? Entonces, los maracas vamos a decir, ch, ch, ch. ¿Okay? Entonces, vamos a empezar. Yo soy la conductora de cuidado de niños. Yo soy la conductora de cuidado de niños. Yo puedo tocar con mis maracas, con mis maracas. Plink, 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 plink. Gracias. Thank you all for singing with us. And really, as Whit shared, you'll see that songs and chants and home language really are the heart of Pole. So thank you all for warming up and getting started with us. And now we're going to go into a little bit more about Pole. So why Pole, right? Why personalized oral language learning? What do we know about dual language learners? Well, we know that infants have the innate capacity to learn multiple languages from birth. We also know that learning those languages during the early years carries the most significant cognitive and linguistic benefits. And really, if we begin that bilingual exposure before the 3 years of age, that is where we get the highest levels of proficiency in the long run. We also know that in order to do this, dual language learners really need systematic support for their home language while they are acquiring English, right? And we know that early childhood education providers do not have to speak the language of the child in order to support home language development and support maintaining home language. And even more importantly, we know that families are our most important partners, right, in supporting those early language experiences. And so this research, this knowledge about dual language learners and about young children really is the base for personalized oral language learning. And Pole provides that some systematic support that dual language learners need. So we're going to get into specifically what is this Pole that you're talking about, right? Personalized oral language learning. So personalized oral language learning, it's a set of research-based concrete approaches. And like I said, it supports language learning in all environments, particularly for dual language learners. It really focuses on developing children's vocabulary, their oral language and comprehension skills, and it's all about strategic planning for language experiences. And so Pole is not unique to one learning setting. It really helps center-based providers, home-based providers, family friend and neighbor caregivers, playgroup facilitators, right, librarians, understand the importance of bilingualism and provides guidance and a range of strategies that supports strengthening both children's home language and English. And these strategies are designed to be implemented by both multilingual and monolingual adults. So we think about Pole, personalized oral language learning. Really, the overall goal is to offer guidance to, like I said, all of these providers, right? All of our caregivers. We know that we have so many different caregivers supporting children, as Stephanie shared earlier. And so the goal of Pole is to offer guidance in integrating family, environmental, and instructional supports to promote language learning. And that is why those are the three main components of Pole: family supports, environmental supports, and instructional supports. And so during our time together, we're going to have a brief overview of the main components of what Pole is. And then later in the webinar, as I shared earlier, we're going to get into our website where you'll find a plethora of other resources and tools for you to use as you work with different providers and facilitators and caregivers, so you can learn more. So we're going to get into the first. And if you can't tell already, I love Pole. I'm very passionate about it because I know that it works. And I've used it, and I'll share a little bit more about my experience with it later on. But first, we're going to talk about the family supports, the first component. And so family supports really builds on that knowledge that we have that families are our strongest partners, right? They're the most important partners for us. And so parents and families, they're the best and most valuable resources of information about their children, about their development and all of the experiences children have outside of whatever caregiving setting we have, right? And we know that dual and multilingual families bring this cultural and linguistic richness to our learning settings, and they partner with providers to support children's learning, growth, and development. So family supports this strategy really creates a foundation of knowledge, partnership, and starts to build that trust between families and providers that we know is so important, and supports families and providers in working together to enrich language learning experiences for our young multilingual learners. And so through family supports, we're able to promote parent, family, provider conversations and knowledge sharing, those opportunities to value and learn about home languages and cultures, and have that regular and ongoing communication and partnership, right? And so this one tool that you see in the very middle of your screen is the Family Languages and Interest Interview tool. And this is just one family support, but really this one helps providers identify dual language learners and collect really relevant information about their early language learning to help better understand the child's development from the family's perspective. And so we'll share more about that, like I said, when we get to the website and get to navigate around a little bit. The other main component of personalized oral language learning are environmental supports. So we know in early childhood that the environment is crucial, right? It is a critical piece of all of children's experiences and learning. And so environmental supports really set that stage for active and engaged learning for children. We want to make sure our learning environments are welcoming, inclusive, and thoughtfully organized and designed to promote learning in all languages. And that's the key, right? For multilingual learners, supporting language learning in all languages. For dual and multilingual learners, it's especially important to make sure that our environments are rich with environmental print, materials, resources that are in their home languages and really reflect the environments that they recognize, right? Those culturally diverse environments. And so this environmental support strategy really honors and reflects children and families' cultures, their languages, and their preferences. When we think about environmental support, some key things to remember are that the environmental supports value and support home languages and cultures. They provide that visual information in children's home languages, and they also engage the interests of the child. And you'll see some examples here, right? Setting up the environment to promote conversation and language experiences for children, having visual schedules, right, to support our dual language learners, but also having things posted in multiple languages, right? Not just in one language, but in supporting English and children's home languages, using things like cognate charts, right, to help children make those connections between different languages. And the third kind of main element of personalized oral language learning are the instructional supports. And really, these are instructional practices that promote dual language learners' oral language abilities, conceptual knowledge, and social emotional development. And these are broken down into 5 key instructional supports. These strategies really are the basis for supporting children's instruction in home language and English. And so they are anchor text and experiences, vocabulary imprinting, intentional messages, songs and chants, and extended activities. And the key, as Whit shared earlier, is using them repetitively. So when these strategies are used repetitively, that repetitive language, and they're used in an integrated way throughout the day, these supports will really provide multiple opportunities for children to make meaning and connections, and again, to be practicing both home language and English, right? Making those connections between the different languages. So we're going to get into, and like I said at the beginning, right? This is a brief overview. We're not expecting you to come away as experts of POL from this webinar, but really wanted to give you an intro into what it is, so that when we go to the tools on our website, right, you'll get to see how you can use those and have a better understanding of how you might use those with the caregivers and providers that you support. So getting into anchor text, right? We know that all children, but especially dual and multilingual learners, it's really important that they have exposure to a wide variety of vocabulary And that is key to them making meaning and promoting that oral language ability, right? And so anchor texts and experiences, they're intentionally planned to focus on children's interests and concepts and ideas that are being explored. We select keywords from those anchor texts and experiences and introduce them in children's home languages to help build that comprehension connection, right? It's all about that connection and helps support them in fostering meaningful interactions. So when we think about anchor texts, they are books. They're books with words and picture books that are selected intentionally. They're based on themes and concepts being explored, and they're used repetitively to foster that vocabulary and concept development. These texts really promote dual language learners' oral language abilities, again, their conceptual knowledge and social emotional development. And anchor, right? There's that word anchor at the beginning. Why do we call these anchor texts? What's different about them as opposed to another book that you might read with a child? And we call these anchor texts because what we base the introduction of new words and language on, right? It's all from our anchor text. And so really they are the foundation for all the other strategies that we'll talk about. And so this is the starting point. And anchor experiences are the same. So anchor experiences are kind of the equivalent to anchor text, but without a book, right? Anchor experiences are more hands-on activities that are based on children's interests, where words are introduced and they're used again repetitively to help support meaning making. Again, why we call these anchor experiences, because they're the base of that introduction of new words and languages, just like anchor texts. They're the foundation for all the other strategies that we'll talk about, all the other instructional supports. And this is where we start, right, with that anchor experience and build from there. And so anchor texts and experiences can really be built around multiple things. They can be built around daily routines and rituals, family traditions and customs that are familiar to the child, again, concepts and ideas that are being explored, moments when the child is deeply focused on something, like if you see an infant focused on lights, right, focusing on faces. Maybe you have a toddler focused on trees. They're focused and based around hands-on interactions with picture books, right? More of that anchor text. And then anchor experiences might also be built around special hands-on activities that are planned by the provider or facilitator in that play group. And so from that anchor text and experience, we start to think about what vocabulary are we going to use with multilingual learners, right? And it's not just about selecting the vocabulary, but really imprinting, helping children imprint that meaning. And so we know that vocabulary predicts development and learning in all domains of children's growth and development. And so a very effective strategy in working with children, especially our dual language learners, is for providers and facilitators to really model those new words and introduce concepts, then reinforce the vocabulary words in various contexts. So during group play, during independent play, right? All these different times, during routines, things like that. And as we said, it's not just about introducing the words, right? But helping children really imprint their meaning. And so vocabulary imprinting promotes dual language learners' oral language abilities, right? Reinforcing those word meanings through oral and visual and physical cues. And when they're used repetitively over time, throughout the day, right? Reinforcing that vocabulary with the use of visual cues and gestures and movements, it really gives children the opportunity to make meaning and connections and to practice that home language and English. And when we talk about visual cues, those are things like photographs, pictures, props, cognate charts, right? That support the introduction of those new concepts and vocabulary and really deepen comprehension. Another way to imprint meaning with children is gestures and movements. Right? They also reinforce word meanings by attaching a physical cue to key vocabulary. And so when children use that specific physical cue, it'll activate that memory and help them recall that vocabulary. So this vocabulary, of course, is selected from anchor texts and experiences. And so we're building on that anchor. Our next instructional support is intentional messages. So as providers and facilitators design meaningful language experiences for children, finding ways to incorporate that key vocabulary in daily activities is really going to help children learn these new words and make meaning. So when we're using intentional messages, it'll help children relate these new words to the active learning experience. An intentional message is embedded with pre-selected content vocabulary, right? from that anchor text and experience. And it really reflects our purpose of learning from that anchor text and experience. It can be pre-written, it can be co-written with children, right? Depending on their developmental level. And really, it should be used in home language and English to support that concept development. Intentional messages, again, that repetition, it's all about that repetitive language to promote oral language development. And so how do we use these, right? How do we use intentional messages? We use them with children to establish the focus of learning based on the vocabulary from anchor texts and experiences, to highlight words that are relevant to their learning experiences, to introduce new words and help them build meaning, and to expose them to rich and interesting words in their home language and English. And so intentional messages are really short statements with a few key content vocabulary words, 3 to 4 words, right? Maybe 2 words if we're younger children. And the purpose is that they reinforce the theme or topic that we're talking about, right? Could be for a week, could be for a couple of weeks, could be for a day. So on your screen, you see some examples of some intentional messages. On the left, we have one that might be for younger children, right? We're exploring how we move our bodies. So move and bodies are a key content vocabulary, and they're underlined because these children are exploring that movement, right? On the right, you see one where it's more a preschooler is using this, right? Preschool age, about a 3-year-old, where they're talking about trees and they're talking about how trees change as they grow. And you'll see that it's, again, in different languages, right? In the home languages of the children that are represented in that learning setting. Our next, and probably our favorite, if you can't tell already, because Whit and I were singing earlier, is songs and chants. And we know that young children love music and movement, and we can use it all day long, right, when we're caring for children in many different ways. But these songs and chants in the POLE strategies approach, they're really a powerful way to teach strategic vocabulary with music and rhythm. The songs and chants are designed with the specific targeted vocabulary words that they're embedded into lyrics of familiar tunes. And that offers the opportunity for children to hear, say, and repeat the key vocabulary, again, from those anchor texts and those anchor experiences, right? Always going back to our anchor. So we incorporate that vocabulary that we selected from our anchor text, from our anchor experience, and we put that into some familiar songs. And that's how we support children another way with helping them imprint that meaning and learn those words and have those words become a part of their vocabulary, right? So as providers and facilitators design meaningful language opportunities through anchor text and experiences, incorporating that key vocabulary and familiar songs and chants will help expand ways for children to practice those new words. So we use songs and chants to support children's use of home language and English, engage them in group times and experiences that really help build that sense of identity, culture, and community, expand their content knowledge and learn new vocabulary in a playful, motivating, fun way, right? And help children experience and express emotions and ideas and expand their oral language skills. So on your screen, you see 2 examples of songs and chants with developmentally different children, right? Different children at different levels. On the left, this was an anchor text, look at that building, around construction and buildings. And so this song was written to focus on the key vocabulary words construction workers, foundations, walls, windows, and skyscrapers. And you can see they're underlined there. And so this one is sung to the tune of Happy Birthday. And of course, I'm going to sing for you because, again, this is our favorite strategy. So I will sing with you. You can sing with me if you'd like. Construction workers are we, construction workers are we. We dig deep foundations. Construction workers are we. Construction workers are we. Construction workers are we. We build walls and windows. Construction workers are we. Construction workers are we. Construction workers are we. And when we are finished, skyscrapers you'll see. As Whit said, don't judge my singing, right? When you're with a group of children, they don't care whether you can carry a tune or not, which is the great part and the beauty of it, right? As you can see, right, a lot of repetitive language, using those words over and over And this is from an anchor text, right? And this would be used not just to sing aloud, but it would have gestures and movements, visual cues for children, and also would be done so in home language, not just in English. And so on the right, you see a song that many of us use all the time with children. But again, this connects back to the intentional message we were just talking about exploring how we move our bodies, right? Maybe these children are now exploring how to move their hands and what they can do with them, right? And so we use this song, Open Shut Them. And that has some key vocabulary from that anchor experience of moving our bodies and clapping our hands and opening or closing our hands, right? So you'll see the key vocabulary: open, shut, clap, right? All of that is underlined because that's our key vocabulary. Again, it would have some movements. It would have gestures and visual cues for children to help imprint the meaning of those vocabulary words. All right, and so now we've come to extended activities, which is the last of our instructional supports. So extended activities are planned opportunities where children explore concepts from, again, those anchor texts and experiences, and get to practice the language being learned. Do you sense the theme here? All of these things are opportunities for them to practice, right? That language. And they get to do so with their peers, other children, and any adults that are there as well, any adults that are in the setting. Implementing those extended activities based on anchor texts and experiences really helps expand children's use of that vocabulary and provides additional opportunities to practice in home language and English. So when providers and facilitators plan appropriate environments and carefully select materials for children, they're helping them have opportunities to explore the concepts and practice, right? It's all about that repetition, repetitively using those words through those songs and chants, through things like that, and using them during extended activities, right? And that interactive language. So that's really the key for extended activities, is that interactive conversation back and forth. So children have the opportunity to produce that language, to try out those new words, to hear those new words, right? Using all those visual cues and gestures. And so really, adult guidance and facilitation during these extended activities helps promote that content knowledge, that skill development, and deepen the understanding of concepts for all children, but especially our dual and multilingual learners. Okay, so now you've heard again, introduction, right? Overview. Usually we'd take multiple sessions to learn about POL, but this is really an intro to what POL is. What is personalized oral language learning? And so now we're going to show you a resource that's available on our website for you to share with others as you're training and coaching around POL to help them understand what personalized oral language learning is.
Personalized oral language learning, POL, is a set of research-based, concrete approaches that support language learning in all environments, particularly for dual language learners. POL focuses on developing children's vocabulary, oral language, and comprehension skills through strategic planning for language experiences. POL helps center-based providers, home-based providers, and family, friend, and neighbor caregivers understand the importance of bilingualism and provides guidance and a range of strategies to strengthen both children's home language and English. These strategies are designed to be implemented by both multilingual and monolingual adults. The three main components of personalized oral language learning, POL, are family supports, environmental supports, and instructional supports. Families are the most important partners in supporting their child's learning and development. They can make critical contributions to the cultural and linguistic richness of early learning settings, as well as provide the daily support necessary for both home language and English language development. POL provides concrete strategies for supporting families through ongoing communication and a variety of engagement activities. The Family Languages and Interests Interview is an important part of the POL family supports. This tool helps providers identify dual language learners and concisely collect relevant information about a child's early language learning, better understanding the child's development from the family's perspective. POL provides concrete strategies to help for planning appropriate environments and intentionally selecting materials that promote an atmosphere of inclusiveness and support learning in both home language and English. These supports may include the arrangement of the physical space and culturally familiar pictures and materials that help children feel comfortable, accepted, safe, and intellectually engaged. Personalized oral language learning, POLE, provides specific practical strategies that all providers can implement. These intentional practices promote dual language learners' oral language abilities, conceptual knowledge, and social emotional development throughout the day. There are 5 main elements of POLE instructional supports. The first POLE instructional support is anchor texts and experiences. With anchor texts, providers use interactive reading to enhance vocabulary and support language development and early literacy skills. This repetitive reading of books that reflect children's identity, family, and language helps providers focus their learning activities and environment. With anchor experiences, providers use repetitive vocabulary to map language onto children's concrete experiences. These experiences include special activities planned by the provider, as well as child-initiated engagement based on their interests. The verbal interactions during these experiences support language and develop into more complex conversations. The second POLE instructional support is vocabulary imprinting. Providers use pictures, props, movements, and gestures to both introduce vocabulary and deepen children's understanding. These cues help children comprehend new words, and the repetitive use helps children recall this new vocabulary. The third POLE instructional support is intentional messages. Providers use written and verbal statements to set the purpose of learning based on the vocabulary from anchor texts and experiences. These messages are used throughout the day to both introduce and reinforce rich content vocabulary. The fourth POLE instructional support is songs and chants. Providers use songs and chants for children to hear, sing and say, and repeat the key vocabulary from anchor texts and experiences. The use of songs and chants builds on children's love of music and movement, allowing providers to teach strategic vocabulary and develop a sense of community. The final POLE instructional support is extended activities. Providers plan appropriate environments and carefully select materials for children to explore the concepts and practice the key vocabulary from anchor texts and experiences. These extended activities can involve children independently exploring the environment with adult support, or be adult-led experiences such as games, cooking, and special art activities. These 5 instructional supports promote dual language learners' oral language abilities, conceptual knowledge, and social emotional development. The overall goal of personalized oral language learning, POLE, is to offer guidance to a variety of providers across settings and integrating family, environmental, and instructional supports to promote language learning.
Great. All right, so now I get to share a little bit of the power of POLE. And when I say that, I really am saying that POLE is so powerful, and I know it because I got to experience it, right? So we've been introduced to the basic elements of POLE, and we're going to hear from some people that have used POLE, me being one of them. So I get to share with you first. So I'm really fortunate that I've been able to, like I said earlier, give you a little preview. I was a provider, a practitioner in the classroom when we first started using POLE here in Fresno with the Language Learning Project. And so we know, right, based on the research, that learning more than one language during the early years really has a lot of benefits for our dual language learners, and POLE provides that systematic support that they need, right? And I've seen that in action. So I already knew, right, of course, as a provider working with children of from different backgrounds, speaking different languages, especially here in California, where we have this rich history and culture and language, right? I always knew the value of bilingualism, being bilingual myself, but POLE offered that way for me to really ensure that children successfully developed both home language and English, right? So it was a way for us to make sure, because we knew that we were using the systematic approach to support children in both acquiring English and maintaining that home language. And so I can be honest, when I first started, I was learning, right? I was going through these sessions and professional development and learning with my peers, and it's like, oh gosh, here's another thing, right? Another thing. Sometimes early childhood providers feel, right? Sometimes we get a lot of different things coming at us. And so when I first started, I was a bit skeptical. But I then soon learned, right, these are things that I'm already doing, right? These are things that I'm already doing, and just adding that intentionality, adding that structure, adding that systematic approach to it, that really, POLE ended up becoming the frame for all of my teaching and all of my planning and working with children. it started being the first thing in the foundation for everything else that I did. The first thing whenever we were talking about a new topic or concept or project we were going to start working on or study, it was always, okay, what are my pull strategies going to be? Right? What's my anchor text? What anchor experience am I going to have with the children? What's our vocabulary that we're going to focus on? Okay, how do I help them understand that vocabulary? What gestures, what movement, what pictures, what different visual cues? And then from that, okay, what's our intentional message? Right? Okay, when can we use that? Building that into our day. I would actually put that on my lesson plans. What songs and chants, right? How can we put these words into a song, into a chant with movements? And what extended activities are we going to use in our environment, right? Both child-led activities in the environment at the different kind of learning areas, but also those adult-guided activities where we're having those special activities and using that vocabulary. So all that to say is that pull is so powerful in supporting children, and I have witnessed children who came in, right, and families who came in not really feeling as strongly about supporting their child's bilingualism, and then having that conversation with the family language and interest interview, and being able to share with them and them saying, you know, actually, I do want my child to continue, right, to speak my home language. And how can we support that, right? And partnering with families on figuring out how we can best support and help that child make those connections between home language and English to ultimately, right, with the goal of bilingualism for all of our children. And so I've experienced it, I've lived it. I'm not just saying this because I manage the project now, but really as a provider, being able to share with all of you, being able to share with other providers how great these strategies are and have been for all the children that I've worked with. So now that's my story, right? I want to briefly let us hear from some others who have used or had experiences with Pull. And so we're going to start with one of the creators of Pull, Ms. Elizabeth Magruder, who is here. She's going to share a little bit herself.
Thank you, Jessica. Oh boy, if that wasn't heartwarming, thank you so much for sharing your lived experience. It's wonderful to hear that. And good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to take just a moment to really share some of the rich and impactful experiences that Dr. Linda Espinosa and Dr. Carola Oliva Olson, Witt, Hayslip, and I had in developing Pull. And what an honor it was really to work with our language learning project team and providers in that process. So for Dr. Espinosa and Dr. Oliva Olson and me, developing Pull strategies was always about sharing what research tells us and what we know about language development and meeting the cultural and linguistic needs of young multilingual learners. So just in honoring that process, we recognized supporting early childhood educators in using concrete strategies with young multilingual children and their families was really, really important. It was critical. And so it wasn't just about handing out a list of strategies to providers to figure things out. For us, it was really about helping providers with how to actively embed and use these strategies throughout the day in targeted ways, and really not just in planned learning activities or experiences, but also during those spontaneous, in the moment experiences that happen all the time with young children in our care. So over 10 years ago, hard to believe, we initially worked with a pilot group of monolingual and bilingual early childhood educators. And in working with that very first cohort, they shared their deep appreciation of having a set of strategies that were concrete, that they could use to support language development and language learning experiences, both in home language and English. So that language acquisition was really a rich way, and using those strategies was the approach that they needed. They really felt strongly that it truly supported their work. And so that thoughtful feedback on how the strategies gave them practical ways to be more intentional in supporting vocabulary and concept and language development was impactful to us. We also learned from their day-to-day experiences what was working and how they were using Pull even beyond what we had initially envisioned. And our pilot providers really helped us expand our thinking in the practical use and application of POL and what that looks like with all providers in all settings with all languages. We especially honed in on our home-based and community providers. So that valuable input from the pilot group really led us to further modify and refine the strategies, which resulted in what we believe are really practical tools for all early childhood providers and things that they can integrate into their ongoing work. So now, more than 10 years later, we still receive feedback from that pilot group about the value of POL and how using the strategies have enhanced their practice and brought a deeper intentionality to their work in supporting language development with their multilingual learners. So now let's hear from Barbara Daniel, who talk a little bit about her work with POL.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. And so now we're going to hear, like Elizabeth said, from Barbara Daniel, who's going to share about her work with POL and a few more providers as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Barbara Daniel. I'm the Child Development Center Program Manager with the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools and the Early Care and Education Department. The Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools operates the Lighthouse for Children Child Development Center and encompasses a team of about 30 people working with children 0 to 5. Our Child Development Center has participated in the Language Learning Project since 2016, and it has supported us in building our capacity to support dual language learners in our program using POL strategies. The best part about POL strategies is that we recognized early on how it already fit into the work that we're doing and enriched it. By learning POL strategies, our monolingual and bilingual teachers have demonstrated increased confidence and competence in supporting dual language learners. Let's hear from Maria, who will discuss her work with using POL strategies.
Hello, my name is Maria Ceballos, and I'm the Executive Officer in the Early Learning Department in Fresno Unified School District. I have been fortunate to see the impact of POL on all our early care and education program providers. Together, we have learned that POL is compatible with the work that providers are already doing. POL builds on a strong foundation of high-quality developmentally appropriate practice with the specific strategies to be able to meet the needs of our young dual language learners and their families. As we strive to improve the quality in our programs, we have worked with Dr. Sue Bredekamp, author of Developmentally Appropriate Practice, to document how the POL strategies align with the high-quality developmentally appropriate practice. Now let's hear from our providers who will talk about their work with POL.
They actually like the idea that I will be introducing new vocabulary, a new language to the children, and I even get feedback at times like, hey, I heard my child was singing this song in Spanish. So they like the fact that even though they're not able to teach it themselves, that they're able to engage with other children here and myself and learn a new language. I am bilingual. My parents only speak Spanish. So as the way I was raised, I only spoke Spanish myself. And I've seen the importance of knowing 2 languages and just how I'm able to help out other people.
La mayoría de los niños que yo he cuidado y que estoy cuidando ahorita hablan los 2 idiomas. En la casa con las familias hablan inglés y aquí hablan español conmigo. Me ha tocado familias que no hablan en español, pero traen a un familiar porque ellos quieren que sus niños vengan aquí. Y al último terminan hablando español los familiares, los padres de los niños. Quiero que los niños aprendan el inglés, ya lo saben, y el español también, que involucrarlos más a que su idioma sea bilingüe. Hablamos acerca de lo importante que es para beneficio de los niños y de todos nosotros, porque ellos pueden dar servicios para otras gentes en un futuro en otro idioma que no hablan en inglés. Es importante. Pueden ganar más dinero porque están siendo personas bilingües, tienen más oportunidades de encontrar un trabajo y obviamente de ganar más. Sí lo hablamos cuando las familias vienen, hablamos muy seriamente, hablamos mucho sobre eso. Pues obviamente para los idiomas me apoyo mucho en mis hijos que tienen, pues, hablan muy bien el idioma del inglés y lo entienden, lo escriben. Y es un gran, enorme apoyo que tengo yo con ellos. Los niños necesitan escuchar para poder aprender.
My parents are primarily Spanish speakers. They have a little bit of English, but at home it's just Spanish. It's definitely paid off now that I'm a lot older, with especially living here in California. There's a lot of Spanish speakers and English speakers. So it's helped me kind of, in terms of my profession, I'm trying to go into teaching. So it's helped me reach out to not just the students, but the parents as well. We see that parents mostly either speak one language. So it's helping me reach out to the families, not just the children. It's just so impactful. It really makes a lot of difference in people's lives.
Ellos no se tienen que adaptar a nosotros. Nosotros tenemos que adaptar a la necesidad que existe. Es una forma, una de estar conectados con la proveedora. Otra es de mantener el lenguaje nativo de las familias con las que trabajan, ¿verdad? Porque el español o cualquier lengua que sea, es bien importante que las familias retengan ese idioma. Entonces, a través de estas estrategias de POL, las proveedoras han podido hacer eso, ¿verdad? Ayudarles a las familias con las que ellas trabajan a retener su lenguaje nativo, ¿verdad?
Yo realmente he aprendido mucho usando las estrategias. El usarlas me ha ayudado a desarrollar más interés como los niños a este trabajo. Me ayuda a trabajar, mi trabajo se facilita más, pero también trabajo mucho y ya con los niños es más fácil trabajar. De verdad, siento que pues naturalmente me ayuda dando una mejor calidad. Los niños aprenden. El reconocimiento de los padres por el aprendizaje de los niños. Y también hasta en mi autoestima, porque veo mi trabajo ahí. Siento que para mí es un logro. Cada detalle en un niño que venga, pues parte de mi trabajo está ahí. Entonces, a mí me enorgullece también.
I love watching that. And I can honestly say it warms my heart just hearing from the providers because we came into this space, right? At the beginning of our couple of years that we've been working with the network, we came into this space, me having only experienced center-based care, right? Working there and having that experience and being able to learn from providers and how they've taken these strategies and really made them their own and really their experience. And so my favorite part about this is that I've learned so much. This has been really an incredible experience. And so just watching that really just makes me so happy because I get to see them and then hear them speak with them. And they've become some really great colleagues that I'm so proud to know. And so they've been a big part of us developing these new resources for you all and for home-based providers and the neighbor facilitators. Like I said, we knew we had to come into the space to learn and to really be learners and partner with those who know the space and they're familiar with the space, those at the network, right? Those at Central Valley Children's Services Network, actual providers, and hearing from what was needed, right? We had this set of strategies. We had POL, we had personalized oral language learning, but they've taken it and created and modified and adapted it to fit what they're doing, right? It isn't about us coming in and telling you this is the way to do things. That's not at all what POL is about. It's really about us coming in and saying, how can we help? How can we support and continuing to expand and the implementation of POL because we know how great it is for children in all settings, right? With all providers. And so we've just been very fortunate to be able to learn from all of you and from the providers. So Now we're getting to my favorite part of the webinar, which is I get to share with you our new redesigned website. And for those of you who have been with the project or have had previous Pole Strategies training, you may have gone to our website in the past, and you'll see today it looks very different, and that's purposeful. And that's because we've learned from all of you that it needed to be different, right? It needed to have different kinds of materials and resources. It needed to be more accessible. It needed to actually represent the people we were speaking about, right? If we're going to say that you can use this in family childcare, well, I want to see what it looks like in family childcare. If we're going to say that, yeah, we've heard from playgroup facilitators and this works for them, well, I want to see what it looks like, right, for playgroup facilitators. And so I'm going to invite you now to, if you'd like to, right, you don't have to navigate to the polestrategies.org website. I'm going to be guiding you through the website step by step. I really want to help you get familiar with the structure of it and what you can find there, so that you can begin to explore how you might use these materials in training and coaching, right? Different providers and playgroup facilitators and those working with family childcare and family friend and neighbor caregivers. And so if you'd like to, you're welcome to follow along by navigating to polestrategies.org, but you don't have to, because I'm going to get to share that with you all right now. And there it is, our beautiful website that I'm so incredibly proud of. So once you go to polestrategies.org, this is the landing page, and this is what you will find. It's really all about this project and about the strategies, and again, designed for you all to be able to use. And so you see here, this top menu, our navigation menu, it has the About page, the Pole Strategies, which we just talked about. This is a new section for us, the For Families, right, section that has specific information that can be shared with families, for administrators, coaches, and trainers, right? So it has those 5 sessions, if that's something that you want to share, right? It has PowerPoints and different things, our previous training or trainers, our different toolkits, and then our contact page as well. So I'm going to guide you through all of these pages, and we'll take it step by step so that you can become familiar. Again, you can follow along if you'd like. I don't want you to feel like you're going to have to memorize where everything is or anything, right? This is a time to get familiar and also explore, but it's going to be a lot of information, as it has been. So you'll get time, right, after the webinar to explore it some more. And we want you to. We want you to explore more and click on things and watch videos and look at different things and provide us feedback and give us your input, right? And let us know how we can be better or what's working for you or what's not. So now I'm going to guide you through the website. So this is polestrategies.org. Again, this is kind of a hub for pole, right? It's become the place where you can find all things pole. And so when you get here, this is the landing page. You can go down and select here a few of the different topics that were there from the top menu. But I'm going to show you how to navigate here from this top menu. So we'll go to the About page first. And this is where you'll get familiar with the project and with Pole. And so this first section on the About page, the origin of the language learning project, give us a brief little intro as myself and Whit and Elizabeth have been sharing about the language learning project, kind of where it started here in Fresno and how it's developed a little bit. And then you'll get into this next section on the About page, which is the science of dual language learning, right? All of those points we talked about. And the information contained in this section really provides the research base, a large part of the research base for which Pole is built on. And this information is from a report by the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, which is here, it's linked right here. And Dr. Linda Espinosa was a part of the panel that wrote this report. And so we're fortunate enough to have this be available to us to be able to support the basis, a lot of the research base behind Pole. And so these are the key findings and conclusions from the report. Again, if you'd like to read the entire report or go more in depth, that's linked there for you and it's available. So it has some of the key findings and conclusions from the report. And then if you navigate down more on the About page, the next section is around POLE, right? It's that brief overview of what is personalized oral language learning. You'll also notice here that there are buttons for you to navigate to each of the 3 main components of POLE. As we continue to go down, you'll see the section for developmentally appropriate practice for dual language learners. As Maria stated earlier in her video, right, POLE is aligned and based on really the current knowledge of effective practices, developmentally appropriate practice for dual language learners. And we're fortunate enough that Dr. Sue Bredekamp, who is the original author of the document on developmentally appropriate practice, has supported us and really helped us in making sure that POLE is aligned with developmentally appropriate practice. And so here's some, this section provides some context around what developmentally appropriate practice looks like for dual language learners, right? With the 3 fundamental considerations of developmentally appropriate practice. And you'll notice also a note here that says further information on the alignment of developmentally appropriate practice and POLE can be found on the sections of the website with each strategy. And so I'll point you to that when we do get to those pieces of the website. Let's go back up to the top. So that is the About page. Now I'll take you to the POLE strategies page. You can get there by clicking there. And this is the personalized oral language learning POLE strategies page, right? So I want to orient you to this web page because the rest of the web pages are formatted very similarly. So this is kind of how it'll be on each of the pages at the top. You will have these documents here, linked here in English and in Spanish. And when you click on them, you'll see they appear. I won't do that just now because I want to give you a little bit of context first. So these documents are the content from the web page. However, they're formatted in a way that you'll be able to download, print, and share them as you're coaching and training on POLE, right? So you'll be able to print them out and leave them with the provider on a home visit, right? Or give them out to some play group facilitators. Maybe you're bringing a group together, right? So this is designed to be able to share the content that's on the website. You'll also see that we have here the overview video that we watched, available with English subtitles as well as Spanish. So that's available for you as well. So this has information about the POLE strategies, goes into the 3 main elements of POLE, and then it links us to the 3 big components of POLE, along with a little testimonial from Maria Isabel, one of our family childcare providers. I'm going to click on our next page, which will be our family supports. So with family supports, again, very structured very similarly to the previous page, right? Our POLE strategies page. It has the documents here, right? They provide an overview of family supports, have the information, the content from the website where you're able to print, download and print to be able to share with others. And then it calls out the strategy here. Each of the strategy pages will call out the strategy here for you, as well as additional information, considerations as you're planning, right? And these with the plus signs are all clickable menus that'll drop down and give you more information for you to read. And I do want you to notice the family language and interest interview has its own kind of section on the family supports page because it is one of the key tools of family supports. And so the family language interest interview, like we talked about, is that tool, right, that helps providers identify dual language learners and start to collect that information about a child's early language learning so they can understand from the family's perspective. And in California, there was legislation passed in 2021 and 2022 that made this tool, or a tool very similar, right? It was based on this tool, now required for all California State Preschool Program contractors to use in both identification and support of dual language learners. So we're very proud to say that we've supported the California Department of Education in building the tool, right? And it was based on the family language and interest interview tool that was originally from POLE. There's also been recently implemented legislation that requires the use of this tool in general childcare and development and migrant childcare programs. And so here's where you can learn more information about how to use it and the importance of using it, right, and how it benefits. So I'm going to select now the English version of the handout. Again, these are just like those overviews at the top of the page where you can click, they'll pop up. And again, the same content, but formatted in a way where you're able to download and print to be able to share with others. So they're available in English and Spanish here for you. And the actual tool is available as well here in English and Spanish in one document. Okay. You also have available to you some demonstration videos of providers with parents about actually using the tool, the interview, to have a conversation with families about bilingualism and their child's early language experiences. You have both English and Spanish. When we were on the About page, we talked about developmentally appropriate practice, right, and how Dr. Sue Bredekamp helped us actually wrote this content for us around how the POLE strategies align with developmentally appropriate practice. And so at the bottom of each strategy page, you'll see this box that you can click again with the plus sign. That'll drop down some information about how this POLE strategy is developmentally appropriate. So I will scroll back up. And actually, we're going to watch a quick little clip from one of our family supports videos.
Let's hear how a provider supports families through ongoing communication and a variety of engagement activities.
Hola, Leo, ¿cómo estás? Leo, Rin, Rin, Rin. Hola, Leo. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás, Leo? ¿Miraste los caracoles? ¿Quieres venir a contar? Oh, hola. Nosotros en la reunión con los padres hablamos acerca de, hacemos preguntas acerca de lo que es, y lo escribimos por escrito, un cuestionario donde preguntamos el idioma que se usa más en su casa, si es otro lenguaje.
I'll stop there, just giving you a little preview of what those videos are like. And so on each of the pages, you'll see that you have videos for both, for all actually, center-based childcare, for family childcare, and for family friend and neighbor childcare. And so again, partnering with our local regional referral agency and the network to get some of our providers that are actually using these strategies. The next page I'll take you to is the environmental supports page.
Jessica, we have a question in the chat.
Absolutely, yes.
So someone is asking if it will be okay for them to use the resources on the webpage to offer a workshop on their own.
Yes, absolutely. That is exactly the way it's intended to be used. The resources are there for you to be able to use them and train others, right? So train providers, train your coaches, train other those that you work with around POLE. And so the idea is, and I'll show you once we get to the for administrators, coaches, and trainers section, that you'll have everything that you need to build your own capacity, right? To be able to share and provide training and coaching around the POLE strategy. So yes, absolutely. That is, the resources are there for you to use. Thanks so much, Stephanie. Okay, so we'll go to the environmental supports page. Again, you have your overviews here in English and Spanish. More information about the strategy. The menu where you're able to click and get more information. Right? These are some considerations as you're designing environmental supports. And then the section about how environmental supports are developmentally appropriate. And here are the videos for center-based care. There are a couple videos for center-based care. We got family child care and family friend and neighbor caregivers. And so I will actually point us to the family child care video.
Let's watch how the provider's environments promote an atmosphere of inclusiveness and support learning in both home language and English.
Pues obviamente para los idiomas me apoyo mucho en mis hijos que hablan muy bien el idioma del inglés, lo entienden, lo escriben. Y es un gran, enorme apoyo que tengo yo con ellos. Otro apoyo importantísimo que tengo es el de los papás, como idiomas como el mixteco.
Okay. And you see there featured is Maria Isabel, one of our family childcare providers, as well as her son that you saw in the Power of Whole video, who spoke about his own, the importance of bilingualism for himself and his own experience. He actually supports his mother in the family childcare home and is that English language support for the children, as she stated. So really happy to feature them here. Next, we'll go over to the instructional supports page. And so this is where we're going to get into those instructional practices, right? And so you have the overview documents here available for you to download and print. Again, they contain the content from the webpage, but in a format that's more easily accessible and readable, right, in a print format. So you have here the main elements of the instructional supports called out, as well as some considerations as you're designing instructional supports. And then down here, this is unique in that it has the main elements of those instructional supports linked here, so that you're able to access pages for each of them, as well as our poll communication board. So as we were working with our providers, many of them found that creating a poll communication board was a great way for them to communicate with families, right? And so they started to develop these ways, these boards as a way to communicate the strategies. And the boards have different information on them, but the real key is that they were using the boards as a way for families to be familiar with what they were talking about, right, in their learning setting. So they would have photos of the anchor texts there, or the actual anchor text for families to look at. They would have the vocabulary words with maybe the visual cues that they're using. They'd have their intentional messages written out there in the home language as well as English. They would have the song and chant lyrics right there as well, and they would have photos of the different extended activities that children were engaging in around that topic. And so I'm actually going to take you there now so you can see what that page looked like. So this is the poll communications boards page. You have the documents, have the content available for you to download and print to share, and additional information about the communication boards and some examples of communication boards and what they look like. So you can click on them and they'll get larger for you to be able to look at them. Right, you see the anchor text there, vocabulary, song and chant, a lot of extended activities. And so they're all available there for you to use. When you're on the strategies pages, you're going to want to navigate back by pressing the back button so you can get back to that previous page that you were on. So this is instructional support strategies. We're going to go into each of the strategy pages now. We'll go to the anchor text and experiences. See, there's proof that I was actually a provider. I was a center-based childcare provider, and so I'm very fortunate that I was able to implement the strategy. So again, you'll have your anchor text and experiences document that you'll be able to download and print with the content from this web page. Some considerations, right? And it calls out anchor text and anchor experiences separately because one is about books and one isn't, right? You have the why is this whole strategy developmentally appropriate piece at the bottom. And then you also have the videos, right? All the different videos that you're able to see. And so we will actually show you one video here from Family Childcare.
Let's watch how the providers use interactive reading with a broad range of children to enhance vocabulary and support language development and early literacy skills.
Caracol se escondió. ¿Qué hacen los caracoles cuando se esconden? Se esconden. Se esconden. Después caracol grita, ¡cuidado! ¡Cuidado! Y caracola se dieron cuenta.
So that's our anchor text, right? Experience with family childcare. And now we're going to get into our anchor experience with our family, friend, and neighbor childcare. So let's take a look at that one.
Let's watch how family, friend, and neighbor playgroup facilitators use engaging hands-on activities to support language development and build vocabulary in both home language and English.
Wait, you have to put that in here.
I tell you what.
1, 2, 3. Go, Aaron. Oh. Yay! You did it. Nice, okay? Put it in here. No. In here, mommy. In here, in the cup, in the big cup. Mama. You want me to do it for you? No, not in your plate, mommy.
Hold on. Again?
In your cup. Ready?
Wow.
So that was one of our family, friend, and neighbor play groups where that anchor experience was captured.
Jessica, just remind them that you're just showing a little tiny bit of those videos. Yeah, the videos, there's a lot more of there. So each of those, when they click, Jessica's just showing the very beginning of each one, but they're very complete with lots of different ideas within each video.
Yes, thank you, Whit. Thanks so much for providing that clarification. Yes, so I would love to show you each and every video for the entire length, but this webinar would be more than 2 hours long. So I am just showing you short clips from each of the videos to give you kind of an idea of what they look like. Each of the videos has various providers or playgroup facilitators showing and actually using the strategy, but also speaking about it and their experience with it. And so they're much longer. You'll see I stopped that at 1 minute, but it goes all the way to 3 minutes. And the next one is actually another playgroup facilitator doing an anchor experience with children. So yes, they're much longer. So again, please, after the webinar, jump in, dig right in, and start watching those videos and getting some more ideas about what these different strategies look like. I'll navigate back to vocabulary imprinting. Again, here you have your overview documents that you're able to print. I'm going to click on the Spanish one. And so it's available, the same information from the web page, but provided in a more printer-friendly format so that you're able to share this. This is one of the things that we learned working with family childcare providers and family friend and neighbor playgroup facilitators, that the information needs to be presented in a different way, right? And available in different formats. We don't always use PowerPoints when training others or working and coaching. And so we needed different ways to be able to share the information and access it. And so this is one of the ways that it's available for you all. And so here, these menus are clickable, visual cues, gestures and movements, our why is it developmentally appropriate, and videos and center-based childcare, family childcare, and family, friend, and neighbor caregiving. So we'll go here.
Let's watch how family, friend, and neighbor playgroup facilitators use engaging hands-on activities to support language development and build vocabulary in both home language and English.
And up, and down, and down, and down. Up and up, and up, and up, and down, and down, and down. Up and up, and up, and down, and down, and down. Up and up, and up, and up, and down, and down, and down. Arriba, arriba, arriba. Abajo, abajo, abajo. Arriba, arriba, arriba. abajo, abajo, abajo. And shake, and shake. 1, 2 y 3 burbujas, 4, 5, 6 burbujas, 7, 8, 9 burbujas, 10 burbujas son.
I played that one a little bit longer because it's one of my favorites, but it does go on longer. So again, center-based, family childcare, and family friend and neighbor childcare. We'll go back. You can go to the intentional messages page. You'll get your documents here that you're able to print. More information. So why is this poll strategy developmentally appropriate? And videos here, a couple center-based videos, and some and one in family friend and neighbor caregiving, as well as intentional messages for family childcare. I do want to share this video with you all.
Let's see how family friend and neighbor playgroup facilitators can use intentional messages to introduce and reinforce rich content vocabulary and promote children's interactive language. Repetitively uses En Nuestra Tierra Tan Linda, on our beautiful earth, as a verbal intentional message to reinforce rich content vocabulary and promote children's interactive language.
All right. Today we have some things to show you. First, we're gonna have el sol, the sun. Here is the sun, el sol. Vamos a ponerlo aquí. In our wonderful world, we have our sun. Can you show me el sol? En nuestra tierra tan linda, pronto va a salir el sol, pronto va a salir el sol. En nuestra tierra tan linda, pom, 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 pom.
As an example from our family friend and neighbor playgroup facilitator. All right. I'm going to take you to songs and chants now. There's our documents here at the top, available in English and Spanish. Here's our English one for songs and chants. You'll see these are formatted very similarly, right? They have information at the top, kind of an intro. They call out the specific strategy and then additional information about how to use them and considerations and some examples as well. At the bottom, you also have the link to our pollstrategies.org website, where it does tell you to learn more about this strategy, right? Visit that section of the website. So these are available for you in English and Spanish. And I'll go back. You've got the videos here on the right side. And the why is this developmentally appropriate down at the bottom. And lastly, we'll go to our extended activities, where you've got your documents that are downloadable and printable, your videos for center-based childcare, right, a couple of them, family childcare, and family, friend, and neighbor playgroups. These collapsible menus that you're able to select and get some additional information, and the developmentally appropriate practice alignment. All right, so that concludes the strategies. Now I'm going to take you to the for family section of the website. So the for family section has an overview of the personalized oral language learning strategies that can be shared with families. And it's specifically designed to be shared with families. And so this page, this section of the website, the for family section, has information from the Developing Authentic Partnerships with Families of Dual Language Learners Toolkit, which was developed by our partners at Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. And so this toolkit is available here in its entirety by clicking this link. However, some information that specifically has been is designed for families has been pulled out and added to this web page. And so the toolkit itself does have 4 sections. It has 2 sections that are designed to be used with providers and helping them build their own, reflecting on their own experiences with language. And then the second half, the 3rd and 4th sections, are for use with families on helping them build their own supports for multilingualism. And so we've pulled those out here. The toolkit has handouts as well as PowerPoint, facilitators guides, and videos that accompany them as well. And so on the For Family section of the website, you'll find information about 3 topics for families. First, how families' language goals and practices support multilingualism. Second, how play supports children's home language. And third, how reading supports children's home language. And so each of these is called out below. This is the first section of the For Families page, how families' language goals and practices support multilingualism. These are clickable so that families can come here and use it themselves, or you can get them, or providers can get them to share with families. So you can click on it, it'll pop up for you. This is the English version. It has some introductory information for families, kind of some information to guide them, a guide around the videos that accompany, which I'll show you in just a moment, some discussion questions for them, and then some more reflection questions on how they can apply this to their own family. And so these are the videos here that accompany these handouts. Here's the second section, how play supports children's home language. Actually, I'm going to click on one of our videos here so you can get an idea of what this looks like. This is how Julian playing with his grandpa.
Excuse me, Grandpa.
Okay.
You can hear how Grandpa is speaking Spanish, right? But Julian responds in English, like Grandpa's saying in that Spanish, and continuing to support that home language while they're playing. The third part of the For Families webpage has information about how families can use reading to support their child's home language. There's a couple of videos of families using home language while reading with their child. And again, those handouts that can be shared with families. Here's the Spanish one for how reading supports. Again, that intro information, the video guide, and some discussion questions for the families to reflect with some additional information as well. So that is the For Families webpage. Again, for yourselves, for providers, for playgroup facilitators, librarians, right? Anyone who's working with families to be able to provide these documents and this information for families to learn more about supporting their child's multilingualism. The next section is for administrators, coaches, and trainers. And for that question earlier about how can we use these resources to train? Absolutely. Here are some more resources. These are professional development videos and resources for administrators, trainers, and coaches, anyone that's working with providers who wants to provide some training, who wants to do some coaching around POL strategies. And so you'll click each of these to be able to see the resources available. These are training videos. So if you're familiar with our previous website or you've been around and had POL strategies training, you'll know that, like I said earlier, we have our 5 training sessions, or how we originally started, right? With PowerPoint slides. And so this is still available for those of you who want to go in deeper and look at that and are interested, right? When you click there, you'll get to this page that kind of gives some information on how these were intended to be used. These are training session videos. They include narrated PowerPoint slides. They include pre-recorded facilitation, individual sections, and recorded breakout groups. So this is really pick and choose what you'd like to use. You can come here to learn more information. You can share these videos with providers if you want to help learn about a specific strategy or a specific part of the training. Or you could go through it yourself or have a provider use it with them to be able to learn more about the full strategy. So this is the 5 sessions, right? But you're also welcome to use the other strategies, the other resources on the strategies. to train.
And Jessica, just one thing I think it's important to say that these trainings were done before we worked with the network to modify. So I think for family child care and family friendly neighbor, a lot of the resources, the new resources are probably going to be preferable for training because they're more inclusive.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. But yes, so these are, like I said, what we did previously before we came into this phase of the project where we've been working with the network and CSN to be able to modify and adapt for home-based providers. And so you'll see a lot of center-based examples here that can still be used, but as Whit shared, the other resources would probably be more suitable for family child care and family-friendly neighbor caregivers. So we'll go back to the website. We also have our leadership orientation here, which is the original introduction to the Language Project Toolkit. It's still available. It's a recording of it along with the slides. You have our initial training of trainers, which was 3 sessions and really provided guidance for training around POL. And then you've got this one that we're recording actually right now, which will be available here after the recording is available. We also have the toolkits. So we have the toolkit for implementing the language learning project, which is the toolkit that has, again, as we shared, those resources that were first developed. It has some additional information about the project itself and how it began here in Fresno, the background on that. It has a longer section about the science of dual language learning. It has the full document that was written by Dr. Sue Bredekamp about developmentally appropriate practice for dual language learners, as well as the alignment to the POL strategies. And it has some information about the POL strategies, as well as contains the original PowerPoints that Whit was sharing were used for more center-based care. So that's available in English and Spanish. You also have that developing authentic partnerships with families of dual language learners. So the information that's on the For Families page is available here in its entirety, including all of the text as well as the video resources as well. And again, that was developed by our partners at the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools to support with that specific topic of family engagement. And then we have our coaching tools. So POL strategies, we had a great coach who developed some tools around how to support implementation of the POL strategies in different settings. And so it's called our How's It Going form, and it's available here in English and Spanish. And you're able to use that, again, download it, print it, and use in your coaching around POL. And then we have a link to the dual language learner supports for early learning settings. This was developed by Dr. Carola Oliva Olson, one of the creators of POL. It's a self-reflection tool housed on a website for providers to be able to just reflect on their implementation of POL. And finally, we have some studies and reports that we've gathered here that have been written about the POL strategies, the language learning project, and just so for some additional information, if anyone is interested in seeing some studies and reports about how this has been used. And finally, we have our contact page. And so this is where you can get in touch with us. You can send a contact through the form here by completing that, and we'll receive it. Or you can scroll down and you'll have the contact information for the POL developers, as well as myself, if you have a specific questions that you want to reach out to one of us with. Okay. So now I am going to stop sharing. I'm going to pass it over to my friend Stephanie. But before we do that, I do want to, again, remember this was a lot of information, right? Walking you through a lot of information. It's an entire website. We cannot expect that you would have gotten all of that, but please take the time to explore, click on things, watch videos, read different things, and try things out and see how they best fit into the work that you're doing with family child care providers and family-friendly neighbor caregivers and playgroup facilitators, right? So think about how these things best fit into the work that you're doing, and we're always here to support. And we welcome feedback from all of you, really. And Stephanie is going to share as we go into our next section about our feedback survey. I do want to point out that it has a very specific question that asks what type of technical assistance and support you would like moving forward. We really encourage you to share what that would look like for you and what would help you, because that will help guide us moving forward. One thing that's very unique about this work that we do is that it's very much guided by the field and by all of you who provide us that feedback and let us know what is needed out in the field. And so we ask that you please, we encourage you to please share what kind of technical assistance and what support you need in order to be able to build your own capacity around POL. So with that, I will pass it over to Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Rita's going to support me with putting the link to the post survey on the chat. It's there now. So we want to allow this last 15 minutes for you to answer this survey, and we will also welcome any questions that you have for us. I see a couple of questions in the chat that I will read out loud for you, Jessica, but thank you so much for walking us through the website. It's so exciting to see all the work that you have been doing coming to life and being able to walk through it with you. Let's see. So one of the questions that is coming a lot is if there are plans for this information and resources to be translated to other languages such as Chinese.
Yeah, see, that is the kind of feedback that we need, right? They've been translated, like you said, into Spanish because that is one of the languages that we found in our work that is most needed. But please do share what other languages. I think that is one of our questions on the feedback survey: is what other languages you all feel that you would need these documents and resources to be translated into. So yes, please share that information with us so that we can make those plans moving forward.
Yeah, and Jessica, the family interview form, you can let them know it has been translated and that is available in other languages.
Yes, it is, and it is available in other languages. So that's one of the resources that has been widely used and is available in other languages already.
Yeah.
And the other question that is coming up on the Q&A chat box is there going to be an upcoming training of trainers, or are there any training of trainer sessions available?
So that is something that we'll planning forward. That's the type of support that you all may need, and if that's coming up, then that may be something that we plan for. So definitely share that feedback with us on what type of support that you're needing, so that we can make sure that we're being able to provide what's needed for the field.
Yes, we are optimistic that this project could go on. So we'd love to hear from you what you would like in terms of what kind of sessions, how small, how large, or whatever. That would be really helpful.
Yeah, as Whit shared, thank you, Whit, for pointing that out. As we think about possibly, right, we're just hopeful that you all will continue to engage in this work with us. And we're happy to provide any support that we can. But we do need your input on what that looks like and what will work best for you all, right? We need you to share what's needed. If you need a training of trainers and what that looks like and what the format should be and what would best fit into the structures that you're already using.
Jessica, and those are all the questions that I see as of now in the question chat box. I don't see anyone with their hand raised. Maybe in a few more minutes, maybe in a few more seconds, anyone will drop something else or raise their hand. So allow for time for that. But as of now, those are all the questions that we have.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing those questions. And thank you all for submitting those questions. Again, please do. We did want to allot some time for you all to be able to complete the feedback survey during the webinar. So you didn't have to do it afterwards, right? I know when I'm on webinars, sometimes it's like, I've got to go to my next meeting. I don't have time for that, right? So we did want to allot some time because as we shared, our work is very much guided by you all and your needs and how we can continue to build the capacity of others. So please complete the feedback survey, add all of your ideas, questions, suggestions there. But you can also, if other things come to you as you're exploring the website or trying out the resources, or if you think of things as you're sharing this with others, you can always reach out to us. Our contact information is available on the website or through the website forum. But please feel free to reach out, and we encourage you to share any feedback and any thoughts and ideas that you have.
Hey, Jessica, one more question came through. I'll give it to you, but I can also support you with this one. People are asking if there will be a certificate for this webinar today.
Yeah, that's a Stephanie question. So we did put this into the workforce registry, right, Stephanie? So did you want to elaborate a little bit?
Yes, so if you have a workforce registry number and you provided that to us during your registration, you will receive credit through the workforce registry, but we will not have any printed certificates to share with you. So hopefully that is helpful.
Any other questions coming through, Stephanie?
I don't see any more in the chat and I don't see any hands raised. So it seems like that is it for now.
Okay, great. All right, everyone. Well, please, like you said, complete the feedback survey. And does anyone else on the call, Whit or Elizabeth, want to share anything before we end our time together?
Just thank you all for being a part of this, and it's been so exciting. And I must say this, and I am so grateful to Jessica, who has really carried the weight of this on her shoulder and has done a great job in all of these revisions. So thank you, Jessica.
Well, thank you. And thank you. Really, it's been, I cannot say this enough. I know repetitive language, right? But thank you to all of you in the field who do this work every single day for guiding our work and what's needed. We could not continue to expand and evolve this work without you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica and Elizabeth for being with us today and sharing what you've been working on and walking us through the whole strategies website. Yeah, this concludes our time together. I see a lot of thank yous coming on the chat box. Thank you so much for being here with us today. You will receive a recording of this webinar in a few hours or maybe tomorrow, depending on how quick GoToWebinar works with us. And we encourage you to please complete the survey, the post-training survey. That will be very helpful for us. And you can find it in the chat if you haven't seen it yet.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. And please reach out anytime.
Thank you, Jessica. And we will share your contact information in a follow-up email as well. Thank you.